Hello, welcome to my bookshelf, and today I'll be sharing with you my TBR for the month of July. And so for this month, I've decided to just finish up all the loose ends, so to speak. I have been reading a lot of books. I was trying to read so many books in the month of June. Books that I added onto my TBR that month, and then books I hadn't finished from previous months. And so I had so many books for June that, while I finished 4, there were still 7 books that I still didn't finish, that I had started in some capacity. And so I decided, let's just make my TBR the books I need to finally finish. There is one exception. I added a book that's completely new that I have not had on any TBR so far. So I am pretty excited about that. It'll kind of spice things up for me at least. So there's at least something new to my TBR. Yeah, so if you did the math, that means I have another 8 books on my TBR. But hopefully it'll be a better month as far as reading goes, especially since I have started, most of these. So it should be better going, It's not like I'm starting from scratch with all of these. I've gotten somewhere in these books, so we shall see what happens, but I am optimistic that I can do better this month and finish these books. So let's get started. The first book that I want to share with you on my TBR is The Princess Bride by William Goldman. I absolutely love this movie. It's one of my most favorite movies of all time. Just the best, honestly. And when I found out that there was a book that it was based on, I had to get it. And so I am finally picking it up. I haven't gotten very far in this book as of yet. I'm still in the process of setting up the story. And because this book is like a book within a book, I haven't gotten to the book within the book yet. I'm still in the setup for the book. So nothing's really happened as far as the actual story and plot goes. It's really just the framed story that's being set up at this point. But even then, it's really interesting and it's really funny. And I think it just kind of goes to show the humor that's in this book. And I'm really enjoying it. And it's making me feel so good inside. Because it does kind of remind me of the movie in a lot of ways. Because the movie's pretty ridiculous and goofy. And I just love that. And I love that this book also has that in there. And it wasn't just an invention of the movie. So I'm pretty optimistic that this will be a wonderful book. The next book that I hope to finish this month is A Cure for Suicide by Jessie Ball. Now, this is one of those books that I had on my TBR for last month, but I actually never cracked it open yet. And that's just because I wasn't doing so well with the other books I had started. And this just sounded like one of those books that I wanted to probably read in 1 or 2 sittings and not really let it be read in just small chunks here and there. And that's what I tend to do. And just some books aren't meant to be read that way. And I didn't want to ruin my reading experience of this book. So I will hopefully read this book soon. All I know about it is that I'm assuming it's some kind of dystopian in the sense that, there's this village and strange things are happening and you just kind of trying to figure out what the society is like, how it's different from our own, what's really going on here, that kind of thing. And I just love those kinds of premises, and I'm hoping that the execution is good. Apparently it's longlisted for the National Book Award. I'm hoping that when I do read this book, it'll live up to my expectations. Moving right along, another dystopian book is Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro. This is definitely a dystopian for more adult audience. And I say that just because it's not written, I think, aimed at young audiences. I think it's written for the adult audience in mind, and I only say that because the writing is something that takes you a little bit longer to get through. I think it's very engaging all the way throughout. I don't think it suffers from that, but it's just something that it just takes more time to read. There's less dialogue. I feel like there's just more in this book than in other books that I've been reading. So it's just a slower read, but it is really interesting. And I think it does a lot of world building. And it's been a really interesting experience. And it's one of those books that I was supposed to read, I believe, in May, but I didn't get very far. and I don't think I even really picked it up again in June, to be honest, but that's just because I had so many books on my TBR for June. So we'll see what happens. It's just kind of my mood. I'm a mood reader. I'm realizing this. So if I feel like reading this book, I will. If not, it might get kind of pushed around again. But I will read it and I will not give up on it. And another cool thing about this is that it is a book to movie adaptation. So I'm also kind of excited to finish this book so I can watch this movie. I've never seen this movie, never even heard of it. And so I'm really interested to see what it's all about and if it's any good. And it's got some great actors in it. It's got Keira Knightley, Andrew Garfield, and Carey Mulligan. So it sounds like it has a lot of potential. So hopefully the book is a good place to start. Alright, moving right along. The next book that I hope to finish this month is Stolen by Lucy Christopher. I actually got pretty far in this book. I'm almost halfway through, which is pretty good for the books that I didn't finish. And this is just the story of this young girl who gets kidnapped. And it's written in the style of a letter. So this is our main character, Gemma. She's the girl that gets taken. And I think she's like 16, I should make that clear. So she's young, but she's not like young. So she's like 16 or something, and she gets kidnapped out of an airport, She's with her parents, but she heads off and grabs some coffee, I think at a Starbucks or something. And, when she's alone, that's when it happens. And oh my goodness. That made me not want to go to an airport, to be honest. Dang. But, so yeah, it's Gemma writing to her captor, so it makes me intrigued to kind of see where this is going, because obviously she survives if she's writing, right? So we're not really sure exactly the motivation behind it quite yet. It's starting to come out a little bit, but it's definitely not what she would expect, and I don't think it's something that Gemma expects. I think she's kind of slowly learning that she's dealing with a whole different ball game, She has this one idea about what this man is like, but he's not like that at all, and it kind of throws everything out of whack. So it's a really interesting story, and I'm very curious to see what direction it goes in from here. I have some ideas on some interesting twists. I don't know if there's supposed to be a twist in here, but we'll see if there are and if I'm correct. So it'll be interesting. It's making me think a little bit. So the next book that I hope to finish this month is another book that I have been reading for a couple months now, and that is Stories of Your Life and Others by Ted Chiang. And this is a science fiction short story collection, which I absolutely love. I mean, if I had to give it a rating right now, I'd probably give it 5 stars, to be honest. I'm loving it. Every single short story in here I have loved. So it's on a good start. And I'm actually more than halfway through, which is really exciting. I think this is the only book that I am currently reading that I'm over halfway through. But it's just one of those books that I'm trying to savor, which is why I'm reading them slowly. And I think short story collections make me want to do that. I don't want to just read the entire collection all in one sitting. I want to read one story in one sitting, but then I want to take a break from it and read something else. I want to savor it, Each story is its own unique package, and I need to digest it slowly and enjoy it for everything I can get. And I don't think that reading a whole bunch of short stories all at once really lends me to do that. One notable short story in here, and which isn't even necessarily the best short story in here, the other ones are all very interesting. The one that's probably the most interesting to all of you to just kind of quickly mention is the titular one, the one called Story of Your Life, and that was turned into the movie Arrival, starring Amy Adams. And I've read that one already, and I've seen the movie, and I really enjoyed both of them, but they're both very different, I think. They're similar in a lot of ways. I think they did a great adaptation, actually. But there's some key differences, which I found to be very interesting. But I think both are just awesome, as separate entities. And it's really interesting to compare them. But honestly, they're both just wonderful. I really enjoyed both mediums. I think I like them for different reasons. I love Ted Chiang's writing. It's so good. I've never read any of his books before, so this has made me like an Insta fan. Like, I need to read more Ted Chiang. So we'll see if I can pick up more books from him. I honestly don't know if he's written that much or not, so hopefully he has, and hopefully they're as great as this collection. Okay, so the next book on my TBR is Illuminate by Jay Kristoff and Amy Kaufman. And this has been a lot of fun to read so far. I haven't gotten too far in it. I know it's science fiction, it's set in the future, there's this attack that kind of, starts off this story, but that's really all I've got so far. We are introduced to our two main characters. I'm assuming they're going to remain our two main characters, and they're pretty young. I don't remember if they're teenagers or early 20s. I'm kind of blanking on that as of right now. But there's kind of this, they were boyfriend and girlfriend, but then they broke up on the day of this attack, and now there's kind of this strained connection. So it's like you're getting some of the science fiction action, but you're also slowly trying to figure out, what exactly was their relationship like? Why did it end? What happened? Are they going to end up together? There's a lot of interesting things being thrown around there. So it's been very interesting so far. And I'm really liking the format where it's like the found files kind of a thing. So I'm really enjoying the style of writing so far. So hopefully it keeps up. So the next book on my TBR is Letters of C.S. Lewis. And this is part memoir and part just letters of C.S. Lewis. And that's what most of it is the letters. But at the very beginning, it's almost like an intro. His brother writes a little memoir about his brother C.S. Lewis. I finished the memoir part, and now I just started reading the letters. And so it's literally just that. C.S. Lewis writes letters to other people, and is compiled into this collection. So it's kind of a weird invasion of privacy, that we're reading letters that he sent out to people other than us. But I kind of love it. I mean, I know it's none of my business, but I just love the fact that I can kind of sneak in and read a letter that he wrote to someone else. I don't know. Hopefully I can have some interesting insights from the things that he says to his friends. C.S. Lewis, if you don't know, he wrote the Narnia Chronicles, and that's kind of what he's best known for. He also does have a science fiction series as well, which I own but have not read yet, but I think I will be reading it sometime in the near future. I'm really starting to get into science fiction / fantasy, and now the more I'm thinking about it, I can't remember which one of those two, or if it's a blend of science fiction and fantasy, but either way, it's a whole different thing than Narnia, and I've heard it's really, really good, and so I'm hoping to read that soon. He also has a lot of nonfiction books, which are really insightful, and I'm just hoping that his letters are as wonderful as well. Okay, so the last book of my TBR is the one book that I have added to my TBR that I haven't started in any other month prior to this. So this is a whole new book, so that's kind of exciting for the big reveal. And that is Scrappy Little Nobody by Anna Kendrick. I talked about this in my mid-year freakout video. I love Anna Kendrick. She's just so talented on pretty much everything that she does. And we shall see if her book is, just as good as the rest of her work. But yeah, it's her memoir from my understanding, so it'll be really interesting to read more about her from her own perspective. And I just love this cover, even though it's very simple, but I love the blue and I love her outfit. She always looks awesome. So another fun read, hopefully. Wow. Okay, I need to take a deep breath after that. Those were a lot of books to talk about, but I think it'll be a wonderful month for reading in July. I think I have a lot of interesting and unique choices to choose from, so it should hopefully keep my reading spirits high. Considering I'm a mood reader, I'll probably just kind of stick to a few ones that I'm really feeling in the moment, but it's nice to have a lot of options. I'm hoping to just really just knock these out and just hopefully read them all. That would be amazing if I could finish them all by the end of July. We shall see. No promises, but I'm hoping to do a lot better than leaving 7 unread books, so we'll see what happens. Alright, so that is my July TBR. Please let me know what you think of my sloppy seconds TBR. I think that's kind of my theme for the month, more or less. Again, thank you for watching this video, and as always, see you next time.